I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. It was a hot afternoon when I visited Aaron Bivins. He's an artist, and his studio was in the basement of his home, which luckily was air-conditioned.
Yeah, this is a watercolor, and I paint in watercolor acrylic and oils. But this particular one is a watercolor, and the subject is an urn of flowers that sits out in front of an apartment complex right at the corner of Bancroft and Scottwood. But
it's not just in the basement that you can find Aaron's artwork. It's all throughout the house. All over the walls there are large canvases filled with landscapes or portraits. There are also football trophies, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, let's talk about how Aaron started painting in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess it goes all the way back to when I was a kid. I come from a large family, about 10 brothers and sisters, and one of my older sisters liked to draw the comic strips. I would sit down and watch her as she drew the comic strips. And then I got to a point where I kind of got my nerve up. I said, I think I might be able to do this. So I started doing the same thing, and I got pretty good. And she kind of stopped doing it. I continued with it. Once I got pretty good with the regular comic strips, I graduated up to the editorial cartoons, which were a little more challenging. And I got pretty good at that, too.
Aaron's love for art continued to grow as he grew, so he decided to study it when he went to the University of Toledo, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts. While he was at school, he found that there was one particular style of artwork that he seemed to like the most.
The Impressionism is just a wonderful style, and you see things differently. And oftentimes when I'm painting on location or at one of the art fairs, people will say, wow, how do you do that? And they're watching me do it. They say, oh my God, I don't see what you see, but I love it, you know? And I said, well, here's the difference. Most people just look at things. Artists see things. So it's more difficult to paint impressionistically than it is realistically, in my opinion. It's tougher. So you have to see things a little differently. Yeah, and I just love it. I love it.
Art was not Aaron's only focus while at school. He attended the University of Toledo on a football scholarship. By the end of his senior year, he had led the team in tackles, that was in 76 and 77. He also was named the team's most valuable player. Football and art may seem like an odd combination. I don't know many football players who are also professional artists, but Aaron says the combo wasn't that strange to him.
I didn't think it was odd, but a lot of people do. Particularly when they see me now at the different art fairs that I participate in, you know, they will look at me. And this is before I started to demonstrate, and I painted every art fair. Because I would often get the question, I'd be sitting like a lot of the artists do at art fairs, they say, are you the artist? And I would say yes, and they kind of looked at me like, yeah, sure you are. So I said, that was really frustrating, it really was. And then I started painting right there so they could actually observe my process, they could see me doing it. And you would think that people would stop asking that question, but they didn't. I'd be standing there painting, and I still would have people say, are you the artist? And I would tell them, no, the artist went to take a break, and they asked me if I would just continue the painting until they get back. So they would look like, But, yeah.
It's sad to me that the general public has a hard time combining these preconceived notions of masculine and feminine. Aaron is a tall, athletic-built African-American. When he's painting at these shows, he's often wearing athletic clothes. It's a masculine picture. And painting, not always, but sometimes is associated with a feminine sensibility. Aaron believes there shouldn't be a divide between these two different pictures, but instead the artist should be judged by his work.
Here's a good example, and I think this is a wonderful example. When I was going to UT, there was another fella that played football with us, and he was African American as well. And he used to make his own clothes. Yeah, he would make his own suits, and he would make pants and so on. In fact, he made me a suit while we were at UT. And you look at him, and you say, this doesn't go together. You know, this guy's a seamstress, and, you know, the home ec classes in junior high, and I don't know if they were in high school, but that's how he learned. And he was really pretty darn good at it.
Aaron doesn't seem to be worried at all about whether he looks the part or not. Instead, his motivation is quite simple. He just loves to paint.
Well, you know, I'm very blessed that I have this talent. And I'm just happy and delighted that I've been able over the years to share it with people and that they like and enjoy what I do. I'll just continue to paint until I can't paint any longer, but I just really enjoy it. And I hope that there'll be some sort of continuance and on down through the years. People say, oh, I remember that guy. I remember watching him, do this, painting and so on and so forth. So I try to paint. My whole thought process is this. I would love to paint every day. I get up every morning saying I'm going to paint something every day or today. It doesn't always work out that way. I got canvases that are ready to go all over the place. I'll finish up a painting and say, you know what, that turned out pretty good. And I'll move it to the side. Okay, next. And I just go on to the next one. But I try to paint as much as I can.
I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.